Hello there, my name is Dismas. Welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial, and this was a user request by Cyrus. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but yeah, let's get into it. You can see it's just a simple ball being thrown through this net, and I'll have this net reacting, and yeah, let's set up that. You can see the ball here. It's a very kind of realistic ball. I textured it and I modeled and textured it here. If you want to see the process of texturing this, you can just go watch this video on my second channel. I'll be leaving a link in the description. But this tutorial is mainly going to focus on this part here, the animation. So I already have the project set up here. You can see if I play back, nothing happens. So let's set up the projectile for this ball. So first thing we're going to do is set up a rigid body system for this so that we can throw it directly into this net and see how that works. So let me set off a few keyframes here. I'll set a keyframe. Let's say I'll scale this down. Scale this down around there. You know what? Just to be safe, I'm just going to move it directly over the net so that I can make sure that this can go through the hoop, like around there. So it starts off at this height, human height, and then at around 20 frames it is thrown up like that. So if we play back and see, we're getting that, and then I can start setting up some keyframes for my rigid body. So I need to set up a rigid body and then turn on animated at around the keyframe, the animated value at around 10 frames, and then at 11 I can switch off the animation so that the rigid body system takes over. Now you can see it's being thrown over the ball. But when someone is throwing a ball, it's usually going like the projectile is more like that instead of that. Yeah, so let's try and create something like that. So for that, I'll just switch over to the curve editor. I don't know if the graph editor. So just hold down Control and then tab while you are in the timeline to access that. So I can shut off actually I don't want to shut that off. I can hide everything and look at one value at a time. Mainly this, I think it's the the Z value, Z location of the ball as it's being thrown up. So you can see that's the projectile we have. But if I kind of start manipulating these, you can see you get that, and I think we can just maybe okay, it's a bit too high, so I'm just going to pull this down a bit. You can also move this keyframe so that it's not that fast. Maybe okay. Let me also give this ground a rigid body system, passive, and under sensitivity, under surface response, let me reduce the friction and give it some bounciness so that this ball can bounce, and also do the same for the ball. So if we throw this, the projectile is a bit unnatural, so let me play with it and see. Let's see, maybe I'll try free. Actually, let me try different handles until I can find something. Okay, I think that's better. The projectile is now a bit more natural than what we had before, but it's not going far enough, and to make it go far, enough, I can just let me make sure that I'm seeing all the keyframes. Now I can just increase the speed of the ball until I get the right angle. Did we? Okay, I think this is a good angle. So we just need to give this a rigid body system, passive, so that it can collide with the ball. And let's see, great. Yeah, so now this hoop also needs the same rigid body system, passive, and okay, it's just landing on top of it. It's not going through. That's because the collision shape is set to convex, which means the collision shape is optimized, and it won't have any gaps in between there. So to make it to make the collision shape be the shape of this loop here, I can just change this to mesh and see how that. Great. Great. Yeah, we have the projectile set up, and it's nice that it fast bounces off this. It makes it look a bit more realistic. And so we can set up the cloth simulator, just model something like this. And one thing you have to do is select the upper ring here, vertices, deselect some of them like that, and go to the object data, set up a new group, and then assign a weight to those. Let me just show you how to do it here. Just go to weight mode, and maybe let me remove that group, set up a new one. I'll select everything, all the entire ring. You just hold down Alt and then left click and select that ring, and then you can hit C and then hold on Shift to deselect some of those vertices. I want some of these parts of the net to be a bit loose. That's why I'm only selecting a few vertices. Now I can assign them a new vertex group and the vertex weight, as you can see there, and go to the physics tab, give this a cloth simulation or cloth property. It will fall directly. It will just fall down, and under the shape, just give it a pin group like so. Great. Now unhide. Nothing will happen because nothing is really making the cloth can behave like a cloth. So what we can do then, I think that's it for now. We just need an object to collide with this. So if I select this ball here and give it a rigid body system, let me do collision. You have to give it a collision property to have it collide with the cloth. So if we play back, okay, things are getting a bit slow. Let me turn on simplify to reduce some of the polygon count I have in my scene so that things are a bit faster. Yeah, so I was running into this issue here where if I added a collision property to this object, it will still not collide with this. It will still not collide with the cloth. And let me duplicate this for a second just to show you. If I duplicated this, I don't need these keyframes. But I want to show you something here. Okay, why do we have these keyframes? I removed the keyframes, so I also have to come to the rigid body and turn off animated so that this can fall naturally. Okay, so you can see when you have this as a rigid body, for some reason it's not colliding with the cloth. I'm not sure if this is a bug or that's how it's supposed to work. but for some reason it wasn't working for me, and the only way that I've made it work was to parent it to do something like this. Let me show you here. If I animate this, let me first turn off rigid body here. Play. You can see without the rigid body, it collides with the mesh. But when you add the rigid body, let me turn on animated here. Okay, now it's working. Last time it wasn't working, and you can see this. What I'm doing here is exactly the same thing that is applied here. I have this as a collision object and also a rigid body with animated turned on. Same thing for this, but this is colliding with the cloth, but this one is not for some reason. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not, and you can see the way I countered that, or the way I handled it in this version, is that I made two balls or two objects. One had the collision object and parented to another that had the projectile and the rigid body, so that it just copies all the translations from the rigid body, but because it doesn't have the rigid body, it can collide with the cloth. So that's how I'm going to handle it here as well, because I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's a bug or what. So because as you can see, when I use the rigid body modifier to throw this, it doesn't really collide with the object, so with the cloth. So what I'm going to do again is just duplicate this, maybe scale it just a bit outside, remove all the keyframes, and also remove the rigid body system. So if we play back, nothing will happen, but we only need to have a collision object, a collision property, and then now I can parent it to the rigid body, to the actual rigid body. So Control P, keep transform, and now it's going to be, it's going to carry the same movement, and when it's time to collide, you see it will collide with the, well, I was running into that issue, so that's how I was able to handle it. Or yeah, that's the workaround that I found. My theory was, if it's not a bug, it might be because, let me first, when you turn on animated, the cloth simulator doesn't respect the rigid body system. It will assume that this, let me first turn off this delay. It will assume that the ball is still using the keyframe, or the timeline or the keyframes that you have it animated, and to the ball, this ball, to the cloth simulator, this ball is still where this last keyframe is, and which is around here, never having collided with the actual ball, with the cloth itself. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly, but this is the only way I found it to work, is just parent it to a rigid body, and when you parent it to a rigid body, you get the translation and also have it collide. You will also have it colliding with the cloth object. And I guess that's the end of the tutorial. Yeah, if you found this useful, leave a like, subscribe. Also, don't forget, if you want to watch how I modeled this or how I textured the ball, you can just go to this channel. You can see, yeah, and watch the process there. Yeah, again, thank you for watching, and thanks to Cyrus. Sorry, I don't even know why I called you Cyrus, but yeah, thanks for watching.